Hello everyone, welcome to our podcast. Today we'll be diving into verse 37 of the Chittagaha, where we'll be learning of a story of a monk named Sangrakitta. My name is Luangta Jetlimembom and today I'll be the host for this podcast. So one day, when the Buddha was residing in the Jetavana monastery, he mentioned and told of a story of a monk named Sangrakitta. Once upon a time, Sangrakitta had a nephew named Sangrakitta Bhaginia. Born from his sister, his nephew was named after his uncle Sangrakitta and was therefore named Sangrakitta Bhaginia. One day, the nephew, wanting to honor his uncle, joined the Sangha, which is the Buddhist monastery. And one day, on visiting his uncle with gifts of robes, his uncle refused to accept them, saying that he has enough. Feeling disappointed, the nephew started to think about leaving this monastery and living as a layman. His mind wandered, imagined selling the robes he bought for his uncle and buying gold instead, which would then multiply and provide him with wealth. He pictured himself marrying a wife and having a child with the wealth, and whom he would visit the uncle with. In his thought, he imagined getting into an argument with his wife during the visit. They argue about who will be holding the child, and while they were arguing, the child fell under the cart that he was pulling, and the child tragically died. Angered by this tragic event, he will start hitting his wife with his whip that he was holding. And as he was lost in thoughts, he absentmindedly struck his uncle with his fan that he was holding, while providing a small breeze during his uncle's meditation. His uncle, aware of his thoughts, questioned his action by saying, "You were unable to beat your wife. Why have you beaten an old monk?" Young Sangrakitta was surprised and very much embarrassed at the words of the old monk. He became extremely frightened that he fled the monastery and eventually was brought back by the young monks and the novices of the monastery, who chased him down and caught him, and finally brought him back to the presence of the Buddha. When told of his experience, the Buddha explains that the mind has great power and can wander anywhere, but one should strive to control it to avoid harmful thoughts and action. He taught the students, his disciples, that by mastering the mind, one can attain liberation from suffering. From this story, we can learn that our thoughts can lead us astray, but with discipline and control, we can overcome them and eventually find freedom from suffering and achieve Nibbana.